I will always pre-record the lessons and post them on Canvas. And if I forget, then I'll go back through and record the lesson and post it on YouTube and make sure that it gets on Canvas. So that way, even if you were in class, you can always go back and rewatch the video. You can fast forward to the part that you need. You can speed it up to make it go a little bit faster or whatever it may be. Okay. But there won't be pre-recorded videos. And most of it, there'll still be a couple assignments, probably the quizzes where you have to submit photos of your work, but I'm not going to make you submit photos of your work for each of the lessons as well. Okay. So with that being said, does anybody have any questions or anything about this semester or anything that you'd like me to answer before we move on? All right, before we move on, if you guys notice if you open up like the participants tab or the chat tab, okay, you're going to see off to the right, there's like a yes, a no, like a go slower, go faster. There's a more with a thumbs down or a thumbs up or clapping. Could you guys all just give me a thumbs up just so I know that you're with me and that I can hear you? Just give me a thumbs up. All right. Getting a few people. All right. If you can hear me and you have not given me, oh, there's a couple people off to the side. I'm getting thumbs up in multiple places. All right. Good deal. Okay. Like I said, if you can hear me and you know where those thumbs up, just give me a thumbs up real quick if you haven't done so already so that I know who all can hear me. All right, good. Looks like we got about 21 people in here. We're missing about 10, but that's okay. All right, so what I want you guys to do now is if you guys will go, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just to walk you through. If you will go ahead and go into Canvas, and I'm just going to go ahead and start in the dashboard just to show you. And we're going to do a little introduction for, all right, thanks, Abe. We're going to do a little introduction to the unit that we're going to be starting next week, okay? So your all geometry, it's what the tab looks like in the dashboard. You can also go to courses and yours. I've kept the last semester open because there's some people who still need to finish some things. But you want to make sure that you click the geometry segment B2 S2, right? The S2 means we're in semester 2, or you can also go to the dashboard and click on the geometry. Okay. Either way, you knew how to get there because you clicked on my Zoom call, right? Now from here, okay, your assignments, okay, any assignment that is going to be required from you, you should be able to find in the to-do list, right? So when you click on the list and you see the to-do list, you're going to see that there, right? But that's only going to be the assignment. You may not necessarily be able to find the video that corresponds with it or any other documents or information that you might need. So instead, if you want to go to modules, modules is where you're going to find all of the info, okay? So actually, let me go to student view. So that way you guys can see it. All right, so if you go to modules, this is what you guys can see. All right, now, anything that you're going to need, I've already put underneath of that date. Okay, so today's assignments, we've got a quadrilateral flip book and a quadrilateral sort. Okay, so you're probably going to think, oh, we're going to be talking about quadrilaterals. You are correct. All right. So anyway, you can also click on the page, and on here you can see the Zoom link. This is where I'll post the video from class for today. I'll also post it outside of it in case you want to see that. It's not letting me because it's just weird like that. So anyway, here's the lesson or the notes that we're going to be looking at today. And then the assignment is a Google slide. It's a drag and drop. It's not going to let me show you. But either way, we'll get to that here in just a minute. So I'm going to go back out. I'm going to leave student view. All right. So these are just for the next couple weeks moving forward. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and open. So if you guys will if you'll go, you can either follow along with me, but I want you to go ahead and open up this quadrilateral flip book. So this is going to be a resource that you can use for the entire chapter, right? Now, so there's a lot of information in it, but I'm going to show you today, initially here, how you can go through this flip book and how you can utilize these resources, okay? So you'll be able to use this for the whole chapter. I'll let you use it on your tests and quizzes, okay? But it's just a resource for you to use. So on the first book, we're going to be talking about a quadrilateral, all right? Well, what is a quadrilateral? Okay, it is a shape with 4 sides and all of the interior angles are 360 degrees. Okay, that's a quadrilateral. That's what it is. Now, 2 different things you can get to these different places. We're going to be talking throughout the unit. We're going to be talking about parallelograms, rectangles, rhombus, square, kite, trapezoid. Okay, you've also got the table of contents right here. You can use either one of these, but what they are links to get you to that specific information. So if you want to know stuff about a parallelogram, okay, your mom asked you, what'd you do at school today? Man? Oh, mom, let me show you. Okay, I got this cool flip book and I can tell you all about parallelograms. And I bet half of you are rolling your eyes at me, and I'm sorry. But okay, so anyway, you click on it, okay, and it gives you all of this information about parallelograms. Okay, so in 3 different ways, we're breaking this down. So if you want to look at the words, these are all of the different properties of a parallelogram. Okay, they have 4 sides, they have sum of interior angles, opposite sides parallel, opposite sides congruent, opposite angles congruent, consecutive angles supplementary, the diagonals bisect each other. Okay, now what does all that mean? Okay, well, you can also look at the symbols here and it'll tell you. So like these red arrows mean, if there's 2 red arrows, that means they're parallel. 1 red arrow means those are parallel. The blue tick marks mean they're congruent, right? Those green arcs mean those angles are congruent. Same here, okay? A diagonal, okay? A diagonal is a line that connects 2 non-consecutive vertices. So like it connects B and D, right? And A and C. And one of the properties of a parallelogram is that when those lines cross, it cuts those 2 diagonals in half. So the 2 parts on either side are congruent. Right? And then it also gives you some more information that will help you, okay, with some visuals as you go to do your assignments later. Right? So this is always going to be here. So if I want to go, let's say I want to check out a rhombus, you can look at all the properties for a rhombus. If I want a trapezoid, I can check out all of the properties for a trapezoid. A kite, okay, no, a kite is not just something that you fly in the air on a windy day in March, okay? A kite is a shape and it has certain properties, okay? You have a rhombus, all sides are congruent, all right? And then, so if you want to go back to the beginning, you can click the home and it'll take you right back to the beginning, okay? So what I want to do today, all right, is we're going to introduce just some basics, okay, for each of these quadrilaterals. All right, we're going to introduce some basics for each of these quadrilaterals. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And then once you've taken a look and you have an understanding of the basics, all right, if you open up, complete the Google slide, drag and drop, if you go to assignment number 1, all right, all of the assignments are going to be labeled. So this is the number 1 assignment for the semester. Okay. To open this, all right, you need to click right here, the blue link. Don't click right here. Right? You're going to click the blue link. And what that does is that's going to automatically open this up and it's going to save your own copy in your Google Drive. All right. So that way, when you make edits, it's yours and not somebody else's. Okay. All right. Real quick, I just want to do a real quick check-in. Give me a thumbs up if you're still with me. Give me a thumbs up if you're still with me. So to try to give me a hand clap. Let me hear your hand clap. Sorry, I'm done. I've only seen about 6 or 7 thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you hear me. If you're with me. How do you thumbs up? Thumbs up. If you look down at the bottom of the screen, there should be, actually, I know my screens are a little bit different than yours. Let me see here. So I know there should be something down here on this screen right here, Hayden. Maybe if you go to more. Mine looks a little bit different, but also I think if you click on participants, you should be able to see like a little poll right here, and you can give a thumbs up by clicking more. Who gave me the thumbs down? Does that mean you can't hear me, or is that you disapprove of what we're doing and talking about today? Or was it an accident? I think it was an accident. All right, so you can give a thumbs up right there. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right. Okay, so anyway, so basically your assignment for today, all right, and we'll go back to the notes page, and you can kind of go back and forth from those, is you are going to look at a rectangle, okay? So you're going to take the shape of a rectangle and you're going to drag it over, and you're going to identify the 4 properties of a rectangle, okay? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 7 different properties, okay? But you want to find specifically what those properties are. Now notice, like, for instance, like quadrilateral only has 1, okay? That's because it's only specifically 1 that you want to look that is just solely a quadrilateral. So you're going to look for the properties that are unique to that shape, okay? So you'll click these shapes, and you'll just drag them into wherever they might be, okay? So opposite angles congruent, 4 right angles, opposite sides parallel. All right. And then the second one, what you do is you're going to look at this shape, and you're going to think, all right, this is a rectangle, but what shape could it possibly be? Could this be a parallelogram? Okay. Could this be a quadrilateral? Could this be a square? Right? Could it be a rhombus? Could it be a rectangle? Could it be a trapezoid? Right? Based off of that. All right. So that's going to be your assignment for today. But before we do that, I want to go through. I'm going to go through and just look at some of the basics of the quadrilateral flip book. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open that back up. Oh, wants me to open a new tab. All right. So I'm going to go through just some of the basics here. And then once we've, sorry. Okay, so we're going to go over some of the basics. After I've gone over the basics, okay, today's going to be pretty easy. That you're just going to go through and do the assignment, and once you're finished, okay, then you can leave for the day. All right. So we're going to start off with parallelogram. So all of these shapes are quadrilaterals. Okay, they all have 4 sides. We're just talking about the specific one. So what is a parallelogram? The biggest thing about a parallelogram, okay, is that the opposite sides are parallel and the opposite sides are congruent, okay? Okay, but with that, we also know that the opposite angles are congruent, okay? Consecutive angles are supplementary. What does consecutive mean, okay? Consecutive means that they are right next to each other. So for instance, A and B are consecutive, okay? And that means now, what does supplementary mean? It means that when you add the 2 angles together, you get 180 degrees, okay? So consecutive are right next to each other. And they also add up to 180. You can see that down here in this shape as well. 70 plus 110 is 180. 110 plus 70 is 180. Okay. 70, and then the opposite ones are congruent. So you should be able to see that. And then diagonals bisect each other. Okay. You can see that down here in this figure where these diagonals are cut in half, and those smaller parts are congruent. All right, so that's a parallelogram. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these because you can go back and reference them when you're doing that assignment. All right, so a rectangle, okay? So a rectangle is a parallelogram, right? So all of those properties that we talked about for a parallelogram are also true for a rectangle, okay? But rectangles have two other properties with them, okay? All of their angles, the four angles, are right angles, meaning they're 90 degrees, okay? And the diagonals are congruent, okay? So those are the two additional properties of a rectangle. A rhombus, okay? A rhombus is the same as a parallelogram. It has all of these properties, okay? But in addition, all of the sides are congruent, okay? So a rhombus is kind of like a square, but it's tilted, right? So it's kind of like a square, but it's tilted, and the angles aren't 90 degrees, right? So all sides are congruent. The diagonals bisect the angles, right? So what that means is the diagonals cut the angles in half, and the diagonals are the perpendicular bisectors of each other, right? What that means, if these diagonals are perpendicular, means they intersect and they create 90-degree angles, okay? All right, so that is a rhombus. That is a rhombus. All right, square. It's a parallelogram. It is a rectangle, and it's a rhombus. So for a square, for the properties of a square, if you look at the parallelogram, all of these properties are true for a square. All of these properties, plus the 2 for the rectangle, plus the 3 for a rhombus, okay? So square has a ton of properties, okay? But basically, if you think of a square, everything is just congruent, right? Everything in a square is the same. The angles are the same. The diagonals are the same. The parallel lines are the same. The bisectors, like everything is just the same, right? So it sounds complicated because there's a lot of properties, but essentially everything's just the same in a square, right? Kite, right? So kite has different properties. It has 4 sides like a quadrilateral, right? 360 degrees like the other ones. 2 pairs of consecutive sides are congruent, right? So we have consecutive sides, the top 2 pieces of a kite and the bottom 2 pieces of a kite. It has 1 pair of opposite angles are congruent. Okay, you can see that here. 1 diagonal bisects a pair of opposite angles, right? So a diagonal, right, that connects 2 non-consecutive angles bisects a pair of opposite angles. So this one right here that bisects those angles means it cuts them in half, right? And then 1 diagonal is the perpendicular bisector of the other, right? So these diagonals, when they intersect, they make a 90-degree angle, right? So you can kind of see some numbers here, and those are the properties. And then we've got the trapezoid, right? 4 sides, some of the angles is 360. Trapezoid, the main definition for a trapezoid is that it has 1 pair of parallel sides, okay? If you have 1 pair of parallel sides, it's a trapezoid, right? So in what we call an isosceles trapezoid, that's when these 2 legs are the same. And if it's that way, the 2 top angles are the same and the bottom 2 angles are the same, okay? So either way, we will spend an entire day. So next week on Tuesday, we'll learn about kites and trapezoids. The following day, we'll learn about parallelograms. And the day after that, we'll learn about rectangles, rhombus, and square, okay? So we will break these down and we will talk about them more specifically kind of as we move on, all right? But anyway, okay, when you complete your, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording because that's most of what we're going to talk about.